Every club.
Every day.
The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Daily Manchester United. It is Wildcard Wednesday, and what better way to spend a Wednesday than eyes glued on the transfer market in January. It's been quiet, but things are starting to bubbling up. I'm here, Kieran McGinley, alongside Daniel Dada to try and sift through what could be happening and what definitely isn't happening. Dan, welcome along. How are you?
I'm good. Obviously some positive news today, so yeah, I'm good.
Well, let's start with that positive news then, Dan. Take it away.
So yeah, 2 signings today from what I can see on Fabrizio's page. We got here, we goes for Aiden Haven from Arsenal, young centre-back. I think he's 18. We played against him in pre-season. Obviously, it wasn't the best showing for him because he kind of got, run ragged by Højlund that day, but he looks like a decent talent. He's left-footed. He can play left side. He can play on the left. He can play left back as well. So he's quite versatile in that. I also remember watching him in the Arsenal documentary with Jack Wilshere not too long ago when he used to play in midfield. So he's quite good on the ball, good in tight spaces. Can play through the lines. Just everything kind of needed in a modern day centre back. He's also only 18. I think he's like 6'2" at 18. So he can still grow. Like they say, I think they say men stop growing at 21. So who knows? He could still grow to 6'3", 6'4". But looks decent.
He could do. Yeah, he's not too far off 6'3" actually. 189 centimeters if you're that way inclined. So that is about 6'3", just shy.
Yeah.
So I'm still taller than him. So thank goodness I got that going for me, which is nice. Yes, something to have over someone 9 years my junior. But yes, also, he joins us with Chiyo Obi Martin joining us earlier on in October. So that's two Arsenal youngsters we've sort of poached away to be part of the United youngster side of it. But also, we've had in the last hour or so, maybe even the last half an hour, a player you've really kept your eye on, a wide player you've kept your eye on there, Dan.
Yeah, because the most glaring problems in our club right now is a left wing back, and I've been pretty fond of Patrick Bourdieu for I'm an avid FM player, so I've known about him for probably about a year and a half. So from when when you bring somebody into your club and you kind of want to see, how are they in real life? If they're performing like this for me in FM, are they performing as good in real life? And I've watched a few of his games, and he's playing in a struggling Leeds side, but he always seems to, just be that stand-up player in that struggling side, especially, in a side that's conceding a lot of goals. To be a stand-up player as a left wing back, it's not easy. But yeah, he looks like a quality signing. I'm apparently happy we got it through. I don't know why it took us all the way to what's today, January 28th, to get the I can't question it. We've got it now, and that's the positive news in that regard.
Yes, it's been given a Fabrizio Romano. Here we go, says Dan. So that it's as good as true that it's got over the line. But no official, we should say, and caveat it at the time, no official club word on it.
Yes,
because we don't want to be caught out. The one time it doesn't happen is the one time that we get caught out there. But yeah, I mean, you've spoken about Patrick Bourdieu before about how you're quite excited for him to head along to the club. I mean, a good winger, in fact, from Lecce there. And yeah, it has played on the right-hand side of the attack, but has ventured into that left wing-back role, as you were saying. And this seems like not only would it provide a bit of competition for Dalot, but also hopefully give us a little bit of attacking prowess in that role.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you watched our last few games, I think that's where we've struggled. We've struggled to attack through that left side, especially the left wing-back side. When Mazuri played on the left side, has been pretty poor. He's not the best. He's not the greatest going forward. He's not going to bomb down the line. That's not his game really. And Dalot, obviously being a right foot on the left side, he's not always looked as comfortable as how he looks on the right side. So having somebody that's left footed and can play on that left side and he's comfortable playing on that left side, it's always going to be perfect. And I think he fits everything that Man United need right now. He's athletic, he's strong, he's fast, he likes to get forward. So yeah, I think this is the perfect signing for that position.
Yeah, current Danish international with 4 caps and 1 goal. 20 years old is Patrick Bourdieu, and only recently turned 20 as well. So a very promising player for the future. And the fact that he's, in quite adept in a couple of positions already is only going to help us in sort of that versatility role that we have been caught out by injuries in the past. And to have a player that can play left back and right wing, it's quite an odd versatile range to have, but you know what? I'm all for it if it works.
Yeah, I think he's like you said, it's very good to have versatile players. He in this wing back system. Obviously, I think that's why probably Amrin wanted to bring him in. He can play on the right side of it and he can play on the left side of it. So if there is injuries on the right side, he can slot in there. And if there is injuries his stronger side left on the left side, if he's a starter, whether he's a backup for somebody, at least we have that quality and depth on that left side. So yeah, I think I'm very happy with the sign. And honestly, I've been talking about this guy for about a couple of weeks in the group. When I first saw we were interested in him, I told you guys, yeah, I think he's going to be a good signing. So hopefully he lives up to it and he proves me right.
Well, look, you put Lenny Yoro in your top 10 French players and he hadn't played a game yet. You're clearly seeing stuff. You're playing 4D chess here, Dan, and I'm all here for it. So I'm going to trust you and say this is going to be a good signing. But yeah, in terms of arrivals that are confirmed or as good as confirmed in this case, it's been quiet. I
Yeah,
think a lot of this window has been really reliant on selling Rashford because I think that Rashford sale, if it goes through in January, because there's a lot of teams interested now. We're talking lots of clubs in Italy. Galatasaray have joined the race as well to sign Marcus Rashford. I think I saw AS Monaco were interested in Marcus Rashford as well. I think it's a case of maybe this money for Rashford is waiting to actually hit the account and for the sale to go through before we can actually really delve into the market. And I'm not familiar with the signing fee of Patrick Dorgu. I'm not sure how much we're going to pay for him, but I
uh,
know it's not going to be cheap.
I
I
think
would say.
the reported fee, I think Fabrizio said, I think it's around 30 million euros with
Okay.
5 million add-ons, not guaranteed though. So it's not like it's a 5 mil for playing 5 games type of thing. So it is. I think it's a pretty decent price to get a young fullback. One of the touted good fullbacks in the world right now. So I think that's a good price to get him at. It's probably around like what 25 mil in pounds. So yeah, I think I think that's a good price for him.
Yeah, it's about 26 and a half
Mhm.
if my conversion works as well as it should. Probably doesn't. And it probably fluctuates by the time we get this episode out. Either way, though, you're right. 30 million euros for a young fullback who's got potential is a pretty good price.
Yeah.
And the other thing as well is that we have been struggling as a club, as a collective, is we give these young players and we bring them in for extortionate fees through no fault of the player. But I feel like, in the past we've had a United tax, if you want to call it
Yeah.
that. We've overpaid for players. We're all happy to admit that. So
Yeah.
it's nice to see that we've, not exactly gone over the top, but this is clearly a signing we wanted to get over the line. And maybe it took this long because we wanted to try and chip away.
Hmm.
His transfer value, according to Transfermarkt, is 20 million euros. So if we're signing him for 30, it's not a huge overpay,
Hmm.
150% of his value, which, to be fair, for that range, why not? Why not take a stab at it?
Understandably, yeah, I think you're right. In that terms of Man U always having to overpay for people, I feel like that you're right. There is that Man U tax that other teams might get a deal, whereas this Man U coming in is like, oh yeah, cool, let's see if we can try and hit a lick on Manchester United. And I think that's how other clubs kind of see us. And I think, with the new board coming in, they've been a bit more savvy in the transfer market, working on deals, making sure we're not getting bullied and like in these transfer deals. Even with Xerxes, I think he had a release clause in his for his transfer, but we somehow worked it out to where we didn't pay the full price of the release clause. So I'm seeing different things that I wasn't seeing before in the past where we're doing tactical business here.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to seeing how it all plays out. I'm really looking forward to our next two parts, of course, of the Wildcard Wednesday transfer window. We'll come back to that after this.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
All these clicks and whatnot from both ends here, trying to furiously try and find the tab we set up for the next part of the podcast. But football gossip from today, really only one thing to report on, and that is Manchester United. This is according to The Athletic. Manchester United may make a loan move for Chelsea and France forward Christopher Nkuku if Marcus Rashford leaves the club. Talk about a transfer rumor out of left field here, Dan. Wasn't expecting that one.
Obviously, I see they've been interested in Garnacho, so if that was kind of where I was thinking, okay, cool, maybe it's a thing where like they're trying to get Garnacho and try to slip off Nkuku to us. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's their thought process. If that's maybe they're trying to get a cheaper deal for Garnacho by giving us Nkuku in that type of deal as well. But I'm not too sure myself. I think Nkuku's a very good player, to be fair. From when he was at Leipzig, I liked him a lot. I wanted him at United at that point when he was at Leipzig as well. And then when he did go to Chelsea, I just think like things haven't always been right for him. He has had a few injury problems. I think last season he missed a lot of football, and this season he just hasn't really fit into the system because I think his best positions are probably just behind the striker instead of having to play that out and out number 9 because that's not really his game. His game is not really holding up defenders. Like his game is getting on the ball and making things happen. And I think unfortunately he has to play with Cole Palmer, and Cole Palmer, he's probably the best in that position right now, so he can't really get in the team in that position. And number 9, Nicholas Jackson might not be everyone's cup of tea, but he's been doing a job as well. I think he's got probably over 10 goals in the Premier League, so he's doing the job of a striker right now. So there's not really a space for him in the team right now.
Yeah, and that sort of shows, as you were saying, with the stats from the Premier League so far this season. He's played in 19 matches for Chelsea in the Premier League. He's only started 3 of them.
Mhm.
And combined with all of the 19 starts, that's 419 minutes played, which is maths, if you're willing to work it out. But it's not a lot of minutes every single time.
Yeah,
He's been subbed in 16 times in those times. He's got 2 goals, 1 assist in the league. But you look at the League Cup. He's played and started 2 games in the League Cup, scored 3 goals with 3 shots on target. And Conference League, I really think, is where he's really been able to allow to be shine because
yeah,
Cole Palmer's obviously not in that Chelsea Conference League squad.
yeah,
So he started 5 and played in 5, of course, scored 5 goals, 3 assists. Now, you could argue Chelsea are probably favourites to win the
yeah.
Conference League. And if they don't, we'll all be questioning why. But, I mean, it's showing here that if you give him the chances, he will pay you back. It's just a case of is this move going to revitalise him? Will that work for us in the short term and maybe Chelsea in the long term? I don't really know. Or is this a case of Chelsea doing their sort of loan market ways of trying to drive up value
Yeah.
in the hopes that they'll be able to sell Nkuku later down the line?
I think if Man U were to do anything, I think it should be probably a loan with an option to buy rather than an obligation to buy or just a straight up loan. I think that we should have that option where, we probably work a deal where it's not too much, it's not too crazy, the price range isn't too crazy, and we don't have to be obligated to buy him. I think that's the best option for Manchester United. If that is the case, if that is somewhere they're looking at, if that is somebody that they're looking at, I think that's probably the best option. I'm a very big fan of him, to be fair. Like you said, when given the opportunity, he has showed that he can, perform and he has that ability. I think at Leipzig, we've seen his quality at Leipzig. He scored magnitudes of goal, player of the year before he went to Chelsea in the Bundesliga, and he, scoring hat tricks against Man City in the Champions League. Like he is a quality player at the end of the day. I just think he hasn't really been given the minutes at Chelsea.
Yeah, absolutely right. And again, according to the Athletic, that is going to hinge on if Marcus Rashford leaves the club. Here's one reported by the Mirror: is that Rashford is willing to wait to secure a move to Barcelona. Now, I have heard that Barcelona are also looking into wingers in the Premier League already, looking to see what they can, bolster their attack
Yeah.
in the latter half of this season. But Marcus Rashford to Barcelona. I mean, I don't really know what to say, to be honest.
I mean, I think my standpoint of Rashford is that it's best for both parties. If he leaves, it's best for both parties. I think it's best that he finds somewhere new, and I think it's best for Man U to move on from Rashford. I think we've got to that point where it's too far gone with Rashford. We've had the same problems for many, many, many years. It's one season we're thinking Rashford's the best footballer in the world, and the next season it's like, oh my god, is this the same Rashford we saw last season? So it's like I think for him, it's best that he probably finds somewhere new. I'm not too sure about the situation and what's really going on behind closed doors. I don't quite get it. Obviously, I get that they're trying to sell him, but I don't understand it. Can he not still play football? I don't get it. So it's like
Well,
Barcelona. In regards for Barcelona, I think that'll be a good signing for them. To be fair, I think they do need that bolster and attack. right now they have a very good attack with Rafinha, Lewandowski, and Yamal. But if they could add somebody that like a Rashford who can come off the bench or even start a few games for them, who we've seen has quality. Even against Barcelona, we've seen it. He absolutely played his socks off at Nou Camp 2 seasons ago. So they know the ability that he has.
Yeah, I mean, it's a case of what's going on behind closed doors. Well, I mean, if you saw the comments in the last sort of 24 hours in the wake of the Fulham win, that this is, I'm reading this off of Sky Sports, is that Amorim says he'd rather put the goalkeeper coach Jorge Vital ahead of anybody who doesn't play or train well. You know, he said in that press conference, it's all about, you know, putting in the effort in the training ground, and this is paraphrasing at this point, putting in the effort on the training ground, and those who don't won't earn a spot in the side. And he's been pretty consistent about that.
Yeah.
And what he said is, anybody who doesn't play well, I would rather put my goalkeeping coach on the bench rather than anybody who didn't train well.
Yeah.
Now, people have aimed that towards Rashford, and even the press tried to aim it towards Rashford. And obviously Amorim trying to be the diplomat, saying, well, no, that's the case for all players. But you get that feeling that, as you say, this is probably the end of the road for Rashford. At least at Manchester United, not just in general, just at Manchester United.
Yeah.
Got away with that one.
No, definitely, I agree with you. But I was watching the overlap, I think earlier today, and David Ornstein was on the overlap, and he was saying that there was some interest from Premier League teams for Rashford, but his decision was mainly to just go abroad. And he also said that both sides know that there is that opportunity where they might have to come back together. So we'll get into the latter stages of the window. What was 28th of January today? The fact that we've been talking about selling this guy way before January, and we're all the way at the 28th of January. I don't know what's really the situation, what's going on. Maybe if it's a thing where United feel like they haven't got the right deal, or if Rashford feels he ain't got the right deal. I don't know. So
yeah. It's one of those, isn't it? I just wonder what is going to happen. Well, the transfer deadline day is fast approaching for English and Scottish clubs. Obviously, open on January 1st, but it will close on February the 3rd because, of course, midnight happens on Saturday, which
okay.
we don't like, apparently. Fax machines and whatnot, and things that keep David De Gea at the club for longer than he should against Real Madrid. Yes, the transfer window closes on the 3rd of February. So we shall see what happens there. Still plenty of rumours and whatnot to talk about, but we'll talk about that after this quick message.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
The Global Sports Podcast Network is changing the face of football podcasts. With dedicated daily content for every Premier League team, women's football, fantasy football, and a daily Premier League wrap-up in 5 different languages, it's one of your one-stop shops for your daily football fix. Find GSPN wherever you find your usual products.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
This is more going to be quick fire as we head to the end of our Wildcard Wednesday. But I'm reading all of these off of transfermarkt.co.uk. Fairly reliable, but it relies mainly on other sources and what it feeds into. So
Right.
Take some of these with a pinch of salt. Obviously, we've talked about Patrick Dorgu. He's one of the top of the lists. But one name that's come up at left wing back as well, Ryan Aitnori from Wolves, 23 years old. I mean, his name has come up on this podcast before as someone maybe we're looking to keep one eye on.
Yeah.
But again, would be a solid option at that left back role.
I think we need as much depth as we can and get that role, because we're having to play right-footed fullbacks on the left side, you know, Mazuri and Dalot, because we don't have fit left backs. Luke Shaw's, we don't, honestly, when it comes to Luke Shaw, we don't know when he's going to play football. We don't know when he's going to come back. So as much as he's world class when he plays, it's just about what he does play. So I think, we need to get as much depth and quality in that position as possible.
Yeah, and I just wonder if that's a case, what will his market value be? Apparently, it's 35 million euros. So again, you put 150% on that, you're looking at about 70 million roughly. No, that's double. That's 200%. Now you're looking at about 50 odd million for him there. Again, one to keep an eye on. Jamie Gittens from Borussia Dortmund is a name that's also come up in the Champions League this season. 7 appearances and 4 goals for a winger who can play on both sides, right-footed, England and Barbados' second nationality. Dan, what have you made of him so far? And is it a realistic signing?
don't think it's realistic. However, if it was to happen, boy, that guy, he's good. However, I don't know if it's best suited to the system because I think he's more of like a pure winger. Like, the reason why I don't think it's always looked as good for Garnacho and as well as Rashford in this system because I think they're pure wingers that like they need space in behind them. They need the ball with space. It's like I think this kind of players behind the strikers. They're kind of more people that can work in tight spaces. Those Bruno type of players, those Wirtz, and Mujo, guys that are like technical and can work into. So I'm not too sure if it's the best fit, and as well as I'm not sure if it's even feasible for Man United as well.
Yeah, one that could. Well, let's see if this is feasible. I'm going to throw another name at you, Dan. Bryan Mbeumo is linked with Manchester United.
Again, I think he's a
Yeah,
good player.
I'll tell you what, though, 14 goals in the Premier League so
Yeah.
far this season. That's not actually too bad. I mean, this was reported on the 15th of January by RMC Sport, who said that Arsenal, United and Tottenham are looking at Brentford's Bryan Mbeumo. I mean, yeah, again, not actually a bad thing. I do think we need an out-and-out striker because I think that is something we're lacking. We're lacking with goals up front. And Mbeumo, even if it's for a short-term solution, might actually be not actually the worst shout in the world, to be honest. I think he's been a solid player over the last couple of seasons.
Literally that he's been a very solid player over the last couple of seasons, and people don't really talk about him. Maybe it's because he plays for Brentford. I'm not sure, but he does this quite consistently every season. He's got 14 goals already this season. He had a quite good season last year. Even when he was playing with Tony, he was having good seasons. I think people don't really talk about it because he's a Brentford player. I think he's a very good player, and he's still young as well. I think he's about 25. It's not like he's on the older spectrum. I think he's still pretty young.
Yeah, and in terms of goalkeepers as well, goalkeeping is a bit of a sore subject for Manchester United in recent years. But apparently, TalkSport reported on the 15th of January, so this is a while ago now, but this is what we're talking about lack of news coming in, is that Zion Suzuki, Parma keeper, is linked with the side. And he's been linked for about a couple of years now.
Yeah, I remember last year,
Yeah, now he's rated at £40 million.
We missed the boat, unfortunately. I think last year we were interested in him, and we couldn't guarantee him playing first team football. Obviously, bringing in Onana and Bayenda, he was always going to be there, like a cup keeper or just behind. And he made the right decision for himself. He knew that he would get more minutes going somewhere else, and that's kind of what he's done. And he's proved to be one of the best shot stoppers in the world, as well as having very good ball playing abilities. And now he's up to transfer market all the way to 14 mil. I think we could have got him for like less than 10, but back when we were interested in him. So yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is, isn't it? That's the way. It's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Dan, I just want to ask you one more question, in fact,
No problem.
and I'm going to slightly put you on the spot here, so I'm going to apologise. It's sort of a two-part question. Where do you think in this side needs the most improvement, and who would be at the top of your wish list for that position?
I think we need I guess you can call it a 10. I don't really know. This system's still kind of confusing to me, but I guess you could call it a 10. Just someone behind the striker. And I think the best player that's suited is Mateus Cunha at Wolves. I think he's already knows how to play in the system. He plays in the system at Wolves. And I think I've seen that he's not too happy at Wolves. I think he wants to leave. He hasn't signed his new contract that he was rumored to sign. So I think that is probably the best signing for Manchester United.
Yeah, 10 goals in 22 appearances so far this season. Yeah, not a bad shout at all when it comes to the Premier League. Yeah, again, not too bad at all. I think if I were to flip it, we've got 5 centre-backs, first-team centre-backs at this club, and we're playing a 3 centre-back system. Surely we need more depth in that centre-half role. Someone who I've kept my eye on for years now is Gonzalo Inacio from Sporting. I think he's a tremendous centre back.
Yeah.
He would be playing for Sporting. Yes, he would be one of those brought in. He knows Amorim's style, and I know we don't want to turn ourselves into another club 2.0, but I genuinely think Inacio is just would be such a good signing. I think he's solid in the air. He's very good at filling in that centre back role. And again, he's just been on my watch list, and I'm just keeping an eye on him for years now, hoping one day someone from this club will be like, actually, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's get Inacio in.
No, that's a great shout. I agree with you. I think he's a very good centre back. Like just like you said, I've had an eye on him. Obviously, due to FM reasons, I've seen he's
Me too. Me too.
he's a very good centre back on FM. So I do like to kind of keep up when I see someone quite high up on the one naked rankings on FM. I kind of like to see what they're doing in real life. So yeah, and he has that, like you said, he has that relation with Sporting and Amarin. One thing I did see yesterday though was Paul Pogba rumored to
Pog
come,
back.
rumored to come back to Manchester United. He posted a picture on his Instagram of him and Ahmad. It was like an animated picture of him and Ahmad, and then the next picture was him staring out the window saying, "Ah, just wait to see what happens next."
I don't know how I feel about that. Pogba. It would complete the trilogy of Pogba, wouldn't it? It really, really would. I don't know. I'm gonna let's leave that on a cliffhanger for Paul Pogba possibly returning to the club. We shall wait and see. Dan, it's been a pleasure to share the mic with you on this
You too, mate.
Wildcard Wednesday,
You
and
too, mate.
we'll surely keep our eye even more on the transfer market, which closes on Monday, the 3rd of February. Who knows who will sign from now until then. Thank you so much for listening along as well. Make sure you do check us out on all the social medias. It's GSPN Man United. We're on X or Twitter, whichever you're liking to call it. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're also on TikTok, if it's not been banned for you Americans just yet. Sorry, again, not our doing. Sorry about that. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching along and listening along. And don't forget as well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's Global Sports Network Ltd. And yeah, you can follow us there. We'll have our own little playlist, and hopefully in that transition to actually seeing our lovely faces whilst you watch along with your podcast. What a terrifying concept. Anyway, in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and we'll talk to you soon.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.